Hello everyone. Welcome to this tutorial on Python basics again. And today we are going to deal with handling expressions in our decisions. So what happens is actually when we try to execute a program, in many cases, we encounter some special cases, and those result to some sort of exception. What are exceptions in Python? Or what are exceptions in general? This is what our main agenda is of this tutorial. So let's review all of the agendas of this tutorial first of all. Our first agenda is understanding exceptional cases in Python programs, and then handling exceptional cases in Python program. And then we're going to take a look at the try, catch, and finally structure in Python programs. Actually, exceptions are very general in any programming language, be it Python or any other, and there should always be some sort of construct or way to lead in any programming language. So let's try to check a case where we have an exception. So I run the Python interpreter. So first of all, let's talk about a case where we can deal with an exception. So our first case is let's take a variable 1 to 3 and store it. What I have done is I have taken a string 1 to 3 and stored it in a variable a. Now as you can see that 1 to 3 is, however, treated over here as a string. But it is actually a number. But if you check it, its type. It will tell that it is a string. However, in a few cases, you might want to convert this string to an integer. So how can you do it? I just did the explicit type conversion over here and we got the value. Let's check its type now and see if the type actually got converted or not. Okay, bravo. This got converted into an integer. Now let's take another string and again store it in a variable. Anyway, since this is a string, therefore we cannot convert it into an integer because it's both illogical and error-prone in Python. But still, let's go ahead and try it. So as we can see, when we try to convert a string type into an integer, and that string type was not actually meant to be converted into an integer, we got a value error over here mentioning that invalid literal for end with base 10. So this is what an exception actually looks like. Yet another example of an exception could be let there be a number called 45 and we divided it by 23 and we got 1. This is a very simple division case, but where is the exception? Let's take yet another number, 45, and try to divide it by 0, which doesn't make any sense mathematically, but still, go ahead. And what we found over here is a 0 division error. Now, if we can see this is yet another exception that we just handled, we actually didn't handle it. We just encountered it in our code. So what if such sort of code conditions fall in our codes? However, you have a 0 in this case, but it could be at some places this 0 isn't a constant. It could be a variable which is varying over some sort of loop attrition or something, and you could have no control over it. But you still want to do something regarding a special case where this value gets equal to 0. Then how will you do it? So first of all, we got an understanding of what is an exception and how it actually looks like. Now let's try to handle it. I actually created an example for the same purpose. So here in this example, what I have implemented is a try, catch, finally block in Python. If you're coming from other backgrounds, other programming backgrounds, then you might be seeing that rather catch, I have used the keyword except over here. So in Python, we use the except keyword. And finally, and try remain as same. For those who don't have any idea about try, catch, finally, let me try to explain it in a brief way. First of all, whatever code is supposed to be error-prone is kept in the try block, like 1 divided by 0, and a equals n23. So there is a type conversion and there is a division, and both are error-prone codes, and code cause an exception. Therefore, they are kept in the try block. Now we have an except block for the specific 0 division error. So what we are looking for is, we are expecting a 0 division error. Therefore, we have tried to catch it over here. And once it has been caught, or any sort of zero division error is caught inside this try block, the code jumps to this except block. You try to print with 0. That code will print. You try to print with 0. If any sort of zero division error is encountered, now also try to catch the value error exception as well. And here I have tried to print that wrong value type assignment. And in the finally block, everything went better than expected. So how it actually works is, you have a try, you have a catch, and you have a finally. Once you encounter an exception and try, it jumps up to the catch block. And once you go through that catch block, or you don't go through that catch block, the finally block is bound to be executed. So let's take this example and try to execute it. So as you can see, it prints me a message called, "You tried to print with 0 and everything going better than expected." As you can see in the try block, we tried to divide this with 0, which turns out to be an exception. Therefore, zero division error exception is caught, and the code blocks jump over here and print this, as we saw in the console. And it doesn't matter if the exception is caught or not. The finally block is executed, and it prints, "Everything went better than expected." Now let's fix this exception, and then try to do it, since there was no exception in our code. Therefore, the code runs successfully, but still, the finally block got executed and it printed, "Everything went better than expected." Now, as you can see, this code is exception-free, so therefore let's try to create yet another exception. What I have tried to do here is, I have tried to convert a string which doesn't have a based and literal into an integer. Let's see what happens. And it gives me an error of wrong value type assignment, and then it executes the finally block. Therefore, in this case, we got the value error. And the expected code block was executed. This is basically what you need to know about this try and catch block. And there will be a lot of examples we'll be giving in the discussion forum, so just go through them. Or try it on your own and find other examples of try and catch exceptions. Or maybe generate your own exceptions. For example, yet another exception could be if we create a list. My apologies, there could be a problem. Here it is, we forgot one inverted comma, double noted comma. Okay, so this list one is prepared, and as we know it, it does have 3 elements. So if we try to access the index 4, we again have an exception. And this exception is called index error. Since this error is caught, we can also implement an except block. And what I want you to do is to create this exception and handle it by your own code and go ahead with it and write it on yourself. Well, this is it for this tutorial. And as I said, the more you try, the more you'll get a grasp of the entire concept. So go ahead and try to find more examples and run them on your own. And see if you can get a hang of it. I hope all of you are going good along with this. And in our next tutorial, we are going to deal with a very important part of Python, and those are functions. So get your belts tight and be prepared. See you in the next tutorial. Thank you.